Welcome to another episode of Degen Dads Podcast. It is your host here, Kyle Willson, and co-host Chris Coffee in the house. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Kyle. Doing great, man. Still fighting off a sinus infection, but overall feeling pretty good. It's been an up and down week.
Yeah, sinus infections are no bueno. I just actually had one a few weeks ago, or at least it almost was one, and then it was not one. And I'm very lucky to not have gotten one. So anyways, I know you're hopefully you get better soon, but we have a lot of topics to cover and dive into today. So let's just go ahead and hop right into it. First, we have VeVe with their community update announcement. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Of course, McFarlane is dropping some iconic characters over there, and Bane, one of the first villains on the Polygon blockchain for DC, which is pretty cool. Then you have other collectible platforms doing things. You have the SEC going crazy everywhere, swinging around their big stick of the law, like hitting everybody, slapping everybody with it. You have all kinds of, we're going to get into it all. Pauly, we got scammers, hucksters, fraudsters. And,
a new business model.
A
new business model for Web3 that El Salvador is implementing too, as well. Gotta get into.
Crazy. So El Salvador is just really with it, man. They've done a great job recently and just implementing, obviously crypto, Bitcoin, and all the above. So a shout out to such a small country representing so much, man. It is always cool to see that. But without further ado, let's jump into these topics. We have the VeVe community update. I don't know if you were able to catch that, Chris. Did you happen to get a glimpse of that?
I got exactly that. I got a glimpse of it because I joined towards the end, and I might have got the last 15 minutes, and there was absolutely like nothing. There was nothing in that 15 minutes, and from what I've heard, it just wasn't a very like needed or substantial community update. So I just never bothered going back and listening to the first part. But how about you?
Yeah, I listened to the last few minutes of it. I heard there was a little bit of alpha in there. I actually missed the update live, so I went back and listened to a couple of minutes, and then I listened to the beginning. And it's kind of just more the same. I think the alpha from the entire space was that now it seems like they have multiple teams instead of just like one team. So maybe Mitch has scaled up their back-end teams, whether that is that they just outsource the teams completely, or I don't know if they actually have these in-house teams. They might have firms, which is pretty common in the software space, to develop your software or app. And so I kind of speculate that that's what's happening. But overall, it seems like from the sentiment I've seen through a lot of the content creators I've covered this, is that it was kind of just a little bit of a dud. So that's kind of the community update sentiment that I've gotten from the community, not me, from the community. And that's where I get a lot of news and alpha. And I just kind of, basically say it out loud for you guys on the stream and in the videos and things like that. So anyways, that's a little bit of VeVe updates there. They're still dropping some, really good collectibles, and all that good stuff. I haven't been really too active on that end. I will go for kind of the larger grails every so often, but in general, I've been really excited about what's going on just in the general space as a whole. Ordinals is still doing some things. They're about to pass, what was it, Chris?
21 million
21 million inscriptions. How can you actually how can you track that? Is there some kind of plug there?
Yeah, man, there's a plug. Ninja Alerts actually tracks the amount of inscriptions that there are in real time. It's the fastest tool to do so, and that's also the Web3 company that I work for. So
awesome, man.
Check out. And Ninja Alerts is like free to use now for obviously if you have the NFT and upcoming, if you're going to have the ordinal, you have a lot of extra perks. But if you just want to go track some wallets and enjoy being able to use that and look at it, it's actually free to use now.
That's pretty sick. So there's just a lot of innovation going around in the space. I'm getting a lot of good vibes from the gaming community once again. So I'm seeing a lot of people getting rehyped on Web3 gaming, which is pretty exciting. Cryptoys releasing their mini game, which is really cool. McFarlane has the Bane Drop. Chris, are you going for the Bane Drop? What's your thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, I wanted to go for it, but I've honestly just been so incredibly busy that I'm not too sure if I'm gonna. It's probably too late now. I don't know. I guess you can answer that. I've done a poor job with keeping up with the requirements. I know you need a certain amount of XP, like 3,000 or 4,000 XP that you get from the app. Is it too late? Like if I started today to get that?
No, I think it's only 400, and you can literally just spam and go into people's showrooms. I don't think they even have that cap, so it's a little bit of alpha there. I think next time they're going to cap it, is what Trevor said. So you can literally just
Okay.
go in, load the app, and visit a few showrooms and like kind of game that XP a little bit there. And then of course, yeah, if you own collectibles, you're obviously going to get a boost there. So yeah, just all around pretty exciting in terms of their XP system. It's nice to see that how this is actually being, functionable, and it's already working this early on, and to see how they'll develop this XP system as time goes on. And of course, it resets after every like quote unquote season or whatever, however they kind of dubbed it. But with that being said, Cryptoys is doing a little bit of some stuff on the side as well with their mini games, which a lot of people don't know. This was always their kind of vision. They've always wanted to implement AI and do mini games with their platform from years ago. So this is pretty cool to see this finally come to fruition. Were you able to get in there, Chris? I'm not sure if you were able to get that access, but
I didn't have the OG toy that you needed to get it.
yeah, so you just need like one of their OG OpenSea style,
Yeah.
actual NFTs. It looks like they kind of look like, I don't know, it's like old school. It's kind of like a throwback. I have like a cat looking character. It's pixelated. So it's kind of that nod, I think, to the old school, NFTs from back in the day, which is pretty cool, so you
What's
can pick
the
one of
name of
those
the
up.
collection?
I think it's just called OG Cryptoys. I think that's literally what it's called.
It's on ETH. I should know this, but I don't. It's on ETH.
I think so, yeah.
So are they gonna? You think this is like alpha? Like they're gonna consistently reward the
They could, I don't know how much they'll go with it, because they are more of like, they have brands and things like that. It's just not
yeah.
like, so I don't know how far they'll go with this utility, but it is cool to see them still provide that utility. And it's exactly what they've delivered on, through the description of these like OG classic, NFTs, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, the gamification is obviously for their. Oh, here's Cryptoys. I was looking for the Cryptoys Classic, but the gamification is for their actual collectibles and their IP. So I could see them constantly rewarding their own IP through the Genesis.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it doesn't have to be like obviously monetary. It can be like, early access to those games. So I think that's really cool. And in the games, I think they said that you'll be able to use your own collectibles in those little spaceships. So you'll be able to like swap out characters and play in game with your characters. It's just kind of fun and keeps people engaged in the platform. And, I'm a big fan of sticky experiences. I do believe you need games in your ecosystem in the NFT space if you really want to go to that next level. And I think that's what a lot of kind of like regular just plain PFP picture projects are kind of missing, is that kind of sticky experience. You don't necessarily need a game, but you need some kind of system, whether if you're a music, NFT platform, then you might want to integrate that with other platforms. Like I see Spotify trying to kind of do this as well. And I've seen, sound.xyz really pop off. So I can see those interesting platforms, but not to get on a rant. There's so much we need to cover aside from all of that.
Little side plug too. You mentioned music, and I don't know if you saw, but Hugo Labs just acquired Roar Studios. I don't really know the details of that, but essentially it's a production company that makes music, and Hugo Labs or Bored Ape Yacht Club just acquired them.
Wow, what a segue, man. That was like OG, triple OG. Like that was a content creator segue if I've ever seen one. But yeah, Yuga looks like they bought a studio. So it's pretty exciting to see them. Chris, I saw you comment on, I think, their post that was like, AO, like concerts, maybe soon or whatever, concerts confirmed. Is that what you're thinking with this acquisition?
Yeah, again, I haven't really looked into it that much. That was my initial thought, though, is, I mean, they've already had like a basic concert with Snoop Dogg and Eminem. So I could totally see like the plots of land hosting these famous musicians. And they kind of refer to it as like, if you have inside land, maybe you can get like a front row seat. And then like the further out it gets, the further away you are, whatever. But I could see it being something like that. But it's just speculation. at that point. I honestly just haven't looked into Roar Studios.
Yeah, I think you're kind of on the spot there. That we could see that. We could see even independent musicians really take off. Maybe it's Yuga Labs really wanting to have that kind of incubator for musicians. I've seen this with even a MasterCard. They actually have their music accelerator for exactly that, where it's up and coming artists that have their own fan bases built around them using Web3 technology. So if you hold one of their NFTs, you can go to in-person events, or you can get some of their songs and just be able to get those in their NFT songs and be able to listen to them. And it's kind of that immersive experience. And that's what a lot of people that maybe don't understand NFTs really should start to understand the technology, because it just allows for your fan base to be more immersed into what you're already excited about. So like obviously like the IP platforms like VeVe and McFarlane that are producing these NFTs, they're having showrooms and experiences to like further engage and have that kind of sticky experience, if you will. So that's kind of what it's all about in the space. Speaking of which, Ducati is launching their Web3. They're launching into Web3 with their first NFTs, which are going to be digital collectibles over on XRP. Chris, did you happen to be able to sign up for that?
I did not know.
So that one it looks like a company that launched Lambo's NFTs, that Web3 Pro company. So that's kind of interesting. What's your thoughts on the XRP as the platform of choice for the NFTs, or blockchain rather?
I just don't use it, and I'm not sure how many people do. Like obviously people like XRP is a huge thing because the whole court case and the token, but I personally don't follow a lot of builders on XRP. I mean, I know they're out there, but
yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Cardano in a sense, where you do have holders that are like super excited on the token side. But like you said, as far as the builder side of NFTs, I've seen it in the last kind of bull run. I did see at the very end, XRP NFTs people tried to hype them up at the very end, and then the kind of bull market died. So I do think that there could be a solid community in the future, though, with XRP NFTs. I'm going to go ahead and try to get these digital collectibles just for fun, and kind of just to, I guess, immerse myself in the process of like learning XRP, because I haven't had an XRP wallet in like I think I downloaded it like in 2017.
Wow.
And I didn't even use it. It was like I back then XRP was like pennies on the dollar. And I knew I should have bought a big bag, because hindsight, I could have been rich, but it's all bueno, or could have had a big bag of it. But it is what it is. We're here now, and it's a good time to learn. And I'm always about learning, even if XRP may or may not be my favorite blockchain, but I'm going to go ahead and get my learning in.
Lots of woulda, coulda, shouldas. And yeah, I'm a fan of, if I think that a blockchain is going to be around for a while, I'm a fan of trying to expose myself like a little bit. Like I did that with a couple, like I did that with Avalanche. Like I have like a couple of AVAX NFTs. I have like one NFT on Arbitrum. I have like ETH, Solana, ordinals, like all those. But like if I like really see the longevity of a blockchain, just to get some exposure there, I'll like try to like go for one thing. So I could see myself going for something like that. I'm not the least bit exposed to XRP besides like the court case and the token itself. But as far as like the community or whoever's building, I have no idea.
Did you have any exposure to Baldcoin? I heard Baldcoin was launched allegedly by Sam Bankman-Fried, which was the founder of Collapsed FTX, that obviously lost billions of dollars of money, of people's money. And he supposedly launched a SHIT coin just a few days ago. What's your thoughts on that, man?
I don't think SBF's actually involved. Allegedly he is. I'm very exposed to Hex, which we can talk about that later. But yeah, Baldcoin, I did see that whoever was one of the devs or one of the founders told people that he didn't sell. He's like, I didn't sell any of my tokens. And come to find out, he like swapped them for ETH, and he considered that not selling, because he didn't sell them for cash. He swapped them for Ethereum. So that's totally different. And like he pulled a ton of liquid out to do that. That's so silly, man.
Oh man, there. I can't even like that statement just cracks me up. That's kind of the character we're dealing with here with SBF. But yeah, anyways, moving on to another huckster here, Pauly. Would
Oh yeah,
allegedly, he's a big huckster, allegedly. With pumping all these coins, selling them, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff that probably isn't legal. I don't know. I'm not an expert at the law, but he suffered a big loss against Basie, a big lawsuit. He had a tweet about it that wasn't really received very well in the crypto space. So Pauly, again, is he taking both a financial L, a lawsuit L, and a actual social currency in terms of Twitter or X now? Is he taking just an L all around? What's your thoughts on this situation?
bro. I think Pauly is an L, just period. Did you see last week? He launched a token, probably using ChatGPT and himself. He did this intentionally, where if you traded outside of the site that he specified to trade on, which is his like one of his sites or whatever, that anyone could trade anybody's tokens. So like if you held like $1,000 worth of this token, I could actually send it out of your wallet to my wallet. But then somebody could send it from my wallet to their wallet. And it was just one big game. So people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of seconds, and then people will gain hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they literally kept on doing that until the liquidity in that pool got to zero. And Pauly launched it and was basically just started gaslighting everybody. Like, you idiots, you should have listened to me. I told you to trade on my site, not the other site. But
That's crazy.
But the functionality literally was programmed to allow anyone to send anyone's tokens out of their wallet. It's insane, man, to get away with that. But yeah, Pauly, man, I've been against Pauly since like the original whole Basie dispute. I wasn't even against like the allegations towards Basie. I was like, you have the right to have allegations, whatever. But like, he started going up on spaces and like threatening to dox people and threatening to hack people, threatening to like ruin their lives via like acting like he's part of Anonymous or whatever. I was just never big on that. And like literally he just gaslights everybody. Like that's like his reputation right now, is like just does really screwed up stuff and gaslights. Like another thing he did, you probably saw this in the middle of like this mini meme coin bull market that we had, where everybody was like making Pepe gains. People started launching tokens, and he built up a hype around you get nothing.eth. Like he was going to do something, like he was putting like a purple square, kind of like ETH Ben's like orange square, and like acting like he would say like you're not going to get anything, but like he kind of made it feel like, well, just wait, because there's a lot of things in crypto like that. Like it might say you're not going to get something, but you actually do. So technically he didn't tell people to send ETH this way. But anyways, he raised a ton of money from that ENS, you get nothing.eth, and he never did anything at all. But he kind of like went back around it.
Which was my prediction. People were sending him money thinking he was going to launch a token, and I warned against that. I was like, he's literally probably not going to do anything. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened. But you can, warn people, and people just don't listen. But it is what it is, man. So next up here, yeah, Pauly, yeah, interesting character, man. It's just like one of the things like that prevents like probably mainstream adoption of crypto is like people like him that just do stuff like that, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the guy. Anyways, let's move on to the next one here. Coinbase.
He's gonna take a huge L. He's gonna take a huge L, though. I'll say that right now. Like, I don't remember the exact number, but I think Hugo paid like 20 million plus in legal fees already. And if Pauly, they've pretty much already lost. And again, I'm obviously not a lawyer or involved in this at all. What I've read is like at the end of it, if they do lose everything, then they're gonna have to cover those legal fees as well. And that's just the legal fees, despite everything else. So he's gonna have to use all this money he stole from people to help pay it off. And I think that's his game plan.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, man. And yeah, it's kind of like, the good guy or the bad guys win a lot in this space. And, it's kind of nice. I don't want to say it's nice because it's not nice for anything to happen like that. It's just all around just not good to see you. Let's just move on to the next topic. All right, let's add in a little bit of positivity. We'll sprinkle a little bit on it. Is Coinbase looking to add Bitcoin Lightning payments? Bitcoin is kind of just at a point in crossroads in history at a moment where now we're approaching the halving. The BlackRock ETF, all the ETFs look like they may be getting approved by end of year. Coinbase looking to add Bitcoin Lightning payments. Jack Dorsey replied to this and said he's interested. MicroStrategy is buying more Bitcoin allegedly and reportedly. And the SEC tried to even force Coinbase I think it was last year or whenever, or maybe this was a couple years ago, tried to get Coinbase to delist every single token but BTC. So I thought that was a little interesting note to mention there. But that came to light just recently, just a couple days ago. But just in general, Bitcoin is kind of front and center and will probably be front and center for a while, for obvious reasons, for everything, all the above. So what's your thoughts on this Bitcoin Lightning Network, everything going on with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hyper bullish on Bitcoin. The longer I'm in crypto, the more like I understand why it's like the king of crypto. Despite it like starting everything else, like it all makes sense to me more and more. As far as the Lightning payments go, so Lightning transactions is basically, for those watching that don't know, is like it's a very fast transaction. So like if Kyle wanted to buy a cup of coffee from me right now, we would do a Lightning transaction and it would happen within a minute and I would get the money and then I could send him the coffee and the fees are minimal. That being said, I don't really understand how that's going to be integrated in Coinbase. Like, I guess maybe you can buy other crypto via Lightning. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to be the difference between just like swapping your Bitcoin for something or like using a Lightning payment as a form of payment. I don't know. Does that make sense to you? Like, why? I don't get how it's going to be integrated.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but it probably, I don't know if it's Coinbase trying to penetrate the market at a deeper level where it's like PayPal or Square, where they're like, okay, we want to be the actual providers of that, like the setup and everything. And we'll take a small transaction fee and we'll provide you with either a Lightning node or whatever, or the support to launch this, facilitate this. I don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to implement it. If it's just going to be a proof of sale, like, little package for companies to help integrate it. Maybe they do that. I don't know. That's a good question. And even Brian said, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, said they're looking for the best way forward. So it doesn't seem like they have everything figured out just yet. They're just trying to figure it out as well. But just based on like BlackRock is using them as an actual, what was it, a custodian or something like that of Bitcoin. It just seems like it's going to progress a lot faster. And now, even though Lightning's been around for a long time, Lightning's kind of like a layer 2 essentially of Bitcoin. It's kind of how it works. I'm not necessarily sold on it. I mean, I'm excited that it'll help with the adoption of Bitcoin. There's a lot of mixed opinions out there. I originally wasn't a fan, but I could see the value in it being like a lower cost in transaction. It's just that you don't like when you're sending the Bitcoin back and forth. It's not like you actually own those Bitcoins until it's settled on the main Bitcoin, like layer 1. So it's in that regard, it's kind of like a layer 2. So that's kind of how it works. But nonetheless, Bitcoin adoption, that's good for the entire space. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and that it kind of goes to, we have this topic in there too. I still don't fully understand this process, but one of the bigger NFT projects is still building in the space is the Plague NFT. My voice cracked a little bit. The founder is Pons, and he's pretty well known in the NFT space. He's working with the government of El Salvador to integrate which this is relevant to me, and I'll get into that in a second. It's called Making Coffee. And this is like 30 minutes worth of videos you have to watch to like kind of understand it. I'm just like kind of looking at the pictures right now and the model. But from what like my understanding is, like trying to grasp it, is there's not going to be a need for I'm looking at this why I'm not looking at you. There's not going to be a need for like a bank to fund it. They're working with El Salvador. So it's literally going to be like built on Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. And so there's not going to be like any banks involved. I think a lot of the times you buy it, it's going to be through like a swap, which I want to talk about Uniswap in a bit. It's not going to be Uniswap. It's going to be another swap. I think it's going to be actually their swap, WinSwap. And obviously like holders of maybe not this NFT particularly, I think it's Win utility maybe, but holders of this might get like a permanent discount on the coffee. They actually want to make this like more than just like a like coffee roasting though. They want to make this like they want to open up a supply chain of coffee stores funded by Bitcoin or like built on Bitcoin that are like decentralized. I don't understand all the nitty gritty yet. It just dropped last night. I haven't really had time to look into it. I actually put my name out there and I said, hey, if you guys need a coffee roaster, hit me up. And the founder said he would. So I'm pretty excited, maybe to be involved with that. But, just something really cool that's being built in the space right now.
Yeah, the innovation on Bitcoin is just really popping off. I think we're just seeing the beginning days of a kind of revolution of really innovation on Bitcoin. We haven't seen that in years on Bitcoin. So, Lightning, that was talked about like way back then, a few years ago, and it's just now again starting to like come to light again. But just what's happened with ordinals, and we talked about this quite a bit in the early days of ordinals, is just the future of Bitcoin. Like,
yeah.
I was like, I remember like our first episode, I was like, oh, it could be years. Now it's like, dude, it's the same year. Like,
crazy,
this is
man.
how fast the innovation is starting to happen. And of course, even Twitter or X has Strike already integrated into the tips on their platform. So again, I think we're just going to see this progress more and more, man. I think this is going to have an absolutely positive impact on the price, not financial advice, of Bitcoin. So yeah, the future's bright, and if Bitcoin really generates a lot of hype and excitement and all that good stuff, it's only going to benefit the rest of the space. And there's going to be those big or like niches of coins that are going to do really, really well this next bull run. But what coin it may not be?
Wait, hold on. I want to talk about Bitcoin real quick. So my other job that I have is we are basically we fund businesses that are building on Bitcoin. And I just want to give a shout out. So I edited like over 10 videos that we took working with these businesses that have already started funding. And I don't know everything I'm allowed to say, so I'll try to keep it short. But like, dude, there's some really cool things being built on Bitcoin. I'll say one of them. Kyle, this will interest you particularly. It's called Force Prime. It's essentially the first segue to allow people to be able to build games on Bitcoin and play games on Bitcoin just by a sign in. So like when you sign in, it does all the back end of generating your wallet and all that fun stuff, similar to IMX, without you actually having to like, build a MetaMask or for Bitcoin's sake, let's say like an Xverse wallet or whatever. And it also does all of this with like one line of code. There's things like that. Other companies that we're working with are also doing really cool things like building bridges. It's actually called NFT bridges, building bridges from like Ethereum to Bitcoin just seamlessly and able to like track every place that it was before that. Really cool. Bitcoin stable swaps. Like there's so many cool things being built on Bitcoin right now, which just makes me ultra bullish for the future of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think I covered Force Prime in Paul Barron's Substack before as well. So I follow like just Web3 gaming in general. I follow it so closely, man. So
that's cool, man.
I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited to see Bitcoin-based Web3 games. And people are like, oh, well, like you can't build a game on Bitcoin itself. Well, I'm like, well, I know, but like the ecosystem in general will be centered around Bitcoin. And to me, that matters because that shows that like, the adoption could have a positive impact on Bitcoin, whether it's through stacks, whether it's through whatever, like it's all going to be built on that Bitcoin ecosystem. And I don't know, to me, that's exciting because again, we're so early. I think people judge so quickly, so fast. And like, it's like, we're obviously early, man. Like,
yeah,
hold your horses, just wait another 5 or 10 years and you'll see what I'm talking about. But let's move on to the next one. What coin may not be in the next bull run is Hex, man. I know you were into this. Richard Hart is currently being sued by the SEC, and they allege that, of course, Richard Hart is not only created a security, but he used allegedly some of these funds $12 million worth of funds to consumer funds to buy luxury items. What's your thoughts on this whole situation? I saw you did a video on it. I didn't get to watch it because I've been like insanely busy this past day or two. But let's fill us everybody in on the situation and kind of your thoughts on it.
So that video actually got like 160,000 views on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that. Like it blew
I
up on
saw you
Twitter.
post about it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw that.
And I got invited to Mario Narwhal Spaces to talk about it, but I declined, aka didn't respond. Which in hindsight, I guess I should have. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions on it. So first off, I'm a pretty big Hex holder, man. Like it's probably like in my top 6 or 7 bags, I would say. Like if I had to go in order, like my biggest bags. So I have a lot of money in Hex, and sorry, I think so. The SEC's allegations are based on like 2 things. One is that Richard Hart basically used $12 million of investors' funds. I don't think that's true, and I think it can be proven on chain. And I think it's more of, if it's anything, they're grabbing at straws, and it could have been like an accounting error. And you might be thinking, wow, $12 million in accounting error. If Richard Hart has as much money as he says he has, he literally has multi-billions of dollars. So if it was something like with an accounting error or something like that, he could literally say, oh, I'm sorry, this was an oversight. Here's $12 million, like, and just fork it up just like that. I don't think that part is a big deal at all. And I actually think that ultimately that part is going to bring more exposure to Hex than it is like more like, let's say, FUD to Hex. The other part is something that I would be a little bit more concerned on. And but in general, I'm concerned on this with like any token is like, is it a security? The reason Hex concerns me a little bit more, I'm not a lawyer, this is just what I've heard, is he has claimed publicly for Hex to be a certificate of deposit. And the main utility for Hex from an outsider's perspective would be like a yield, essentially. Like you deposit it here, you don't touch your money for a certain amount of time, and then that money becomes more money. So I could see that being a case towards a security. I don't know. That's not my field as far as like the legal perspective goes. I would be more concerned with that. So that's kind of what's happening. Ultimately, I think the first thing is just kind of like a slap on the wrist. I don't think it's a big deal. If it's a security or not, that's a bigger thing. I think that's just a question we have with a lot of tokens, and we might see a whole nother XRP case around this. I really don't think Richard Hart used the funds to buy luxury goods. I think he's a billionaire and he used his own funds. So I think it's kind of silly as well. I also think it's ironic that most of the people that have a problem with Richard Hart and the Hex, apparently all these people losing money are the people that don't have money in Hex. It's all the outsiders. So if you actually go to the Hex community, they're actually like, they're pretty big, man. Like the Hex community is large relatively. So the fact that like all of them are standing together saying, look, we believe in Richard Hart, we don't feel like we've been screwed, the whole typical like name one victim because like we knew what we were getting into. Like I do agree with a lot of that, because like it's just ironic for people who have no stake in it to be the ones that saying, oh, you're hurting investors.
Yeah, it's an interesting just situation all around. I don't know, like for me, I'm just like he knew what he was launching. He knew that at some point, you know, if Hex had the amount of publicity and success as it kind of did already, as you mentioned, that the community is pretty big, despite what people think. Like that, it's called the Hexicans is what they call. I think that he kind of knew that this was going to come, and so maybe he's using this as like one of those Trump situations where like any publicity is good publicity. Because look what happened to Ripple. Ripple has stayed in the public spotlight for years because of their lawsuit. And as soon as they had a positive summary judgment, the token exploded. So I don't want to. I'm on kind of the opposite end of Chris. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a fan currently, but I'm always willing to change my mind. I never want to let my hubris fool myself in terms of like, you know, oh, could it be I just don't like Richard Hart is why I don't like Hex. You know, maybe it's because like he dresses a certain way, but I'm like, I don't want my hubris to get in the way of like all of that. With that being said, so there's a lot to think through. We're still early. Regulation still needs to play out. So I'm not a lawyer either. You know, so we'll see how this plays out. And you know, if one thing is for sure, I'm for crypto, and I like crypto. I like decentralization for the most part. You know, in terms of my finances, I like it. I think it's a great technology. I don't think decentralization is for everything in society, but in some cases it's really great. And I don't like to see like centralization in terms of too much governance, oversight, and all this other stuff that we're seeing. That's kind of like what's wrong with current society in general. So that's kind of my final thoughts on that.
So a couple things what you said. One, is this a publicity stunt? It absolutely could be, because he actually has a movie coming out very soon. So like all this,
and get into that Uniswap too.
I will in a bit. But like the movie they've been working on for like 2 years now, and it's just about to drop, and all of this happens. Like, what are the odds of that? I think it's called The Highest of Stakes, or The Highest Stake. I don't know exactly when it drops, but I feel like that timing is pretty impeccable. Two, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a Richard Hart fan. He kind of annoys me, honestly. He's a little bit too conceited, and like obviously like he argues, and some hexagons argue, that the flamboyant lifestyle is a marketing technique, which makes sense. So essentially, he's buying these Gucci bags and all this other stuff. So people post memes about it, and people talk about it like you and I, and it ultimately brings publicity back to Hex. And the whole like any publicity is good publicity. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I am a fan of the community. I think they're strong. A lot of them are very smart. A lot of them are building, like actually building like really cool stuff. So like I am a fan of the community. I don't want to see any community suffer. Particularly don't want to see a community suffer just for the actions of like one person. I mean, ultimately, if like, I think a huge question would be like, if Richard Hart went to jail for the rest of his life, which I hope does not happen, you know, would Hex and the Pulse and Pulse Hex community still thrive? I would hope that they could, and the token could still thrive, and that it's independent of Richard Hart. But I guess the only way to find out is, you know, we'll see the future. So a big part of what you said.
That's kind of what happened with Luna Classic, as you kind of hit a little pinpoint on the wider crypto industry. I saw the community take that token over, and they're still kind of going and doing their own thing now.
Actually didn't see that thing. Yeah, I mean, that's good that they did that. And that's happened with some NFT projects too, like Satoshi, like the end of Satoshi, or the what are they called? MFers. The founder essentially left, but the community, you know, led it on. So back to decentralization. This is very interesting, revolving around Hex as well. Uniswap is a supposed DEX tool. This means a decentralized swap exchange, to where you're able to swap one crypto for another. They actually ended up blocking Hex on their front end, meaning 99% of people will not be able to swap it. What this means is if you go to Uniswap right now and you try to swap your Ethereum for Hex, it's going to say it's not tradable. The reason it's like technically still tradable is you can go into the back end and input all the numbers that you need to input, essentially code. Like you pretty much have to have a basic level understanding of code in order to get it to work on the back end, and then you could swap it manually from there. I do not agree with this at all, because that's one of those things, like it's like fine print, like, yeah, we're technically decentralized, but if like 99% of people like can't, like, I mean, they technically could, but like more than likely would not be able to, or not have the time to figure it out how to do that, can you really claim that you're a decentralized exchange? You know, like, I don't know. That's a weird thing for me. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, to me, it's like maybe they're trying to get out ahead of this thing. They are, I guess, on like Apple. I don't know I guess you can swap on there. I don't know. There's like, it's weird to see swaps on like these apps before regulation, but I guess they are. I guess that there's like a loophole in that, because you're not technically buying, you're just swapping. But with that being said, yeah, it is weird. It's a DEX. It's supposed to be a DEX. It doesn't set a very good precedence, you know, even if you're not a fan of Hex. So it is kind of weird, you know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one. Mixed feelings. It doesn't really it doesn't want to digest very well with me here. Even though I'm like not really big into Hex like that. It just doesn't bode well, because I mean, maybe this could be a good opportunity for another DEX to pop up, or like Sushi to say, hey, you know, we are against this standard. Because that's what happens a lot, is like one platform will do something like stupid or like centralized, and then another platform will say, well, we got better features, and maybe like another platform will kind of pop up, or like Sushi Swap or somebody else. But the Uniswap is obviously one of the biggest DEXs out there. But yeah, this was a weird one for sure, even for Uniswap. So yeah, it doesn't digest well for me.
It kind of reminds me, like, decentralization is like supposed to be for everyone, you know. It reminds me of like, hey, everybody, let's throw this big decentralized party. You know, like everyone who loves decentralization can come. And then you show up at the party and they hand you this like 7x7 Rubik's Cube. And they're like, oh, well, we invited everyone, but you have to solve this in order to come in. You know, if that's the case, did you really invite everyone, you know, or is it only the people who are able to solve the cube that are able to come in? I'm not about this at all. And I don't think people who are about decentralization should be celebrating this.
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's like we're here to bank the unbanked, or bank the unbanked, and like give power to the people, except only the people that know how to like you said, solve the problem or be smart enough to get in the door. So yeah, it's just weird. But anyways,
it boils down to what you said earlier, to like not liking Richard Hart. Like their dislike for Richard Hart hovers over their love for decentralization. Like that's all it is to it.
Yeah, so I'm curious what viewers out there and listeners think of that, because there's just a lot to think about. It's like, I know some people are making pre-assumptions or prejudgments, but if you do think about it like we just extrapolated on, maybe that gives you a little more insight into kind of the reality of what's going on there. But yeah, let's move on to the next one here. We have what I think we have a little bit of AI news, and we always like to add in AI because it's not going away. It's going to progress, obviously. We've seen WorldCoin launch. They're getting probed by Kenya and Germany, apparently, over privacy concerns and all that good stuff, allegedly and reportedly. So, but this one is interesting to me in terms, there's a YouTuber, apparently, that wants to clone himself of an AI and have that produce content for him. I know we talked about it, Chris, like on the back end, not like live on air, but like, what's your thoughts of this? Could this be the future of content creation, and will platforms kind of regulate this to where you can't do that? What's kind of the future of this, man?
Yeah, it all goes back to that Black Mirror episode that I keep referring to that you need to watch. Joan is awful, because in that episode, spoiler alert, even though it's been out for like 2 months, they approve their AI likeness, and then they hook up their likeness to a quantum computer, and it basically makes 24/7 content based off their likeness. But it gets to the point to where like, what's you kind of like signed off rights you didn't know about. Now this is like very dystopia view. You almost signed off like rights that you didn't really know about, and it starts portraying you in a really bad light. Well, why would it do that? Well, that's because like negativity sells more, than positivity. And I think that's still I think that's not even dystopia. That's like true in today's world. Like, why do you think like news reports all bad things and not just all good things? It's like that sells more, so you could very well see your AI likeness start doing some things that you're kind of uncomfortable about, but like, you kind of signed off at that point. So what can you do? Even the best lawyers can't help you at that point. I know this is a very like dystopian viewpoint of it, but that's one thing I'd be scared of, is at the end of the day, like my image is important to me, and like who I am.
But give us a other flip side of it though. Like, what if you didn't sign away the rights? What if it's just like a good scenario here for content creators? What would you be doing right now in your shoes if you knew this was the future? Would you be trying to like grow a following? How do you see this playing out in a more positive outlook on the flip side?
I would probably take the most viral topics in the world that attract retention, and I would get my AI likeness to stream those topics 24/7. That's what I'd probably do, or just constantly spit out videos. But I mean, the stream essentially, I'm trying to think of what's viral right now. Like as far as like, I mean, you could take sports. Like my AI likeness could be reacting to professional basketball games, professional football games, professional baseball games, like all at the same time, like, wow, home run, or whatever. But like, and that's just a random example. But
let me ask you this. Like, with that being said, though, is it kind of so I've had a lot of deep thoughts about this and the future of content creation. And my thoughts is it going to be an arms race for content creators to have a large enough following? Because again, if this is going to be accessible to a lot of people, even if it's not, you're still going to have like the larger people that can afford it, use tools like these. So is it going to be an arms race to have a lot of subscribers to the point where you can actually get your content out there so you're not competing? Because it's like, to me, I see this with Twitch already. Twitch is already so so big and you only have like the top 1% of streamers actually making money, like to where they can live, or I don't know what the exact percentage is, but it's like the top percentage is like the elite. And those are like the only people that can actually live off of like Twitch subs and all that, Twitch follows. And I feel like we could see something similar play out on YouTube. I know it'll create opportunities for early adopters, for sure, but as time goes on, will this become like a Twitch situation where it's just the elites that are using these tools that can afford it? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be too oversaturated for like literally pretty much anyone. And especially it's going to be hard for like what we do. Because I feel like the easiest way to replicate is going to be like talking head videos, but like AI is like infinitely away from mimicking a Mr. Beast video, like from recreating their own Mr. Beast video, you know? So I don't think people like that have really anything to worry about, nor can they really outsource their content to AI. I think it would be more so like Mr. Beast is a good example. I think it's going to look more so like this. Like he'll have his main channel that he runs all the stuff on, and he already has a lot of other channels like Mr. Beast Reacts. Like maybe he could, you know, sign off his likeness to like continue to run that Mr. Beast Reacts channel to where they watch random crazy videos and just make faces and react and have the editors do the rest. I think that's more of a possibility.
Why don't we have a Degen Dads Reacts?
I mean, hey man, it sells on YouTube, but yeah, I think that type of stuff.
We'll just react to Cavell videos.
Yeah, I mean, Cavell react.
Shout out to Cavell.
Yeah, Cavell, that's his videos, his reaction videos now.
He does. Well, I think he has a couple YouTube channels. He does reacts on like all of his videos, all of his channels. So he's got a lot of experience with it. It works apparently.
I still feel like we're further away from, and I might eat my words on this, from being able to replicate certain things than we feel like we are. Like I know we're in stage 1 AI, or like stage 2, whatever. But just from like, let's take myself and you. Like I still think we're far ways away from AI scanning all the newest information on the NFT, crypto, and AI news, selecting what people want to hear the most and what is the most interesting, and then being able to broadcast that in a digestible and entertaining way with excitement, expressions, questions, and all of that for a video. You know, some people are like, oh bro, we're gonna be there next year. No way. Like I really think like we're like 5-10 years out from seeing that, if not further. You know, right now, even like AI, like I saw you made one yesterday or the other day with the Superman thing. Like even the voices right now that you can make, I don't know if you shared that or created it, but the voices you can make using AI right now, like it's very hard to add inflection and emotion just to that alone, much less having a talking head behind it and all that. We're further out than we think we are.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like to push back on that. With ChatGPT, you can actually add plugins to ChatGPT. It'll scan the crypto news. It'll scan all social media platforms, and it'll give you like the most up-to-date like news. And if you so choose, you can actually go in and like, you know, create a paragraph or maybe a blog or something like that, perhaps. But I don't know. Like, I think the next iteration of the ChatGPT model could be a monumental improvement on ChatGPT 4.5 even. So I think that just based on what OpenAI was saying in their latest blog about, or one of their latest blogs about superintelligence, they're predicting it could be here within this decade. They think they go on to say people think superintelligence is far off, but they're predicting that it will be here within the decade, and they're having to go and rethink what they're doing and actually create what's called a AI custodian or AI. Basically, it's like an assistant that helps the superintelligence, because humans don't have the capability to always provide input, probably 24/7. So it's kind of like a guardrail system to what me and you have talked about on the podcast for a lot, is like who's putting these inputs in, who's helping this AI. So what their whole thing is, they're trying to pitch the idea that they'll need to build out this like assistant AI that will help superintelligence within the next 4 years. So I don't know. I'm not so sure, just based on what I've seen. And it's an arms race. Apple's entering the AI race as well. Elon Musk even entered the AI race, and his own company Tesla has an AI called Dojo, which it's so powerful. Apparently, it took down a grid for a minute. Apparently, but I don't know. The future is just so weird, and it's hard to predict at this point. But what's for certain is it's going to change things forever, and we're just living with this invention now, and we'll have to have all these discussions about this. And maybe AI is reading these videos now. That's the thing, that it can read videos. You just click a button, it can download the whole transcript of the video, and then bada bing, bada boom, it's in OpenAI's system, and it lives in a server. So really, it could read videos as well. And Bard already has access to the internet. So there's just a lot of things to think about. The machine learning process, how fast is that really compound on itself? Processors are going to get smaller, more powerful. There's just so many things going on, and it's interesting. It's like I hope that, again, I always reiterate at the end of the videos or the AI topics that I hope it is more of a utopia than a dystopian future.
Yeah, for a kid's sake, man.
Yeah.
My advice for anyone wanting to take advantage of all this: be the first and do it while you can, because I think content's going to be, everything's going to be oversaturated once a lot of this kicks off. It's already kind of happening through other means of AI. If you're going to build on this technology, build now. I had a really good idea. I've shared it with Kyle, that hopefully we're going to execute. Be able to execute the technology while we can. If you wait till it's easy enough for everyone to do it, you're too late. And I think that's what's going to happen with a lot of these things. If you're the first to do it, the first to execute, and that's what you care about, then do it while you can. But yeah, it's going to happen at a rapid pace.
You know what? How else people can take advantage?
How else, Kyle?
Subscribe to the channel here and to the Degen Dads Podcast, because you don't want to miss on a future episode that you could miss out on the very future of what could give you a great idea. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe this helps you think through the process. And I'm with you on that too. Not only just like for people, like maybe they're wanting to create an AI product, maybe not, but like in terms of content creation, maybe people out there have been thinking about it. I think it's a great time to start now before it gets saturated, where people are using all these AI tools and trying to, getting ahead. And I think it's an arms race already to get to the point where, on all these social media apps, that you're actually even relevant in the conversation, period. Because I think we'll get to a point where everybody's using all these tools and all competing against for that social attention. And if you don't have it, if you don't have the subscribers, followers, it's going to be even, if you think it's hard now, it's going to be 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold with AI running around doing everything. So in my opinion, I think if you're wanting to start a channel, you better start now, man, because it's going to get interesting very quickly. And we're even if you're at 1, 2,000, 3,000 subs, that's a way big a head start than starting from zero when AI is already full blown everywhere. So that's kind of my final thought on it.
Same thing with any content, even on Twitter, or on X now, it's officially rebranded. There's going to be accounts ran. I made an account last year that was ran by AI on Twitter. I didn't really keep on doing it because it was not automated at all. I would have to prompt everything, but eventually it's going to get to the point where you don't have to prompt and you can kind of automate it. And that's going to take over. So might as well try to build now. And the best thing I think we could do as creators is stay true to ourselves. And that goes back to the argument I take on this podcast time and time again, is you really can't replicate humans in the aspect of relating to other humans. So if you build a brand for yourself where people can relate to that, then I think that's going to stand true and stand out at the end of the day. And that's something that AI is not going to be able to replicate in our lifetime.
That they can't replicate just simple things if I was to open this HRO pack and then rip a super rare card open, it's not going to replicate that anytime soon. And if it did, it would probably get shut down by the big companies for trying to replicate fake stuff or whatever. There's these things to think through as well. It's how are they going to moderate that? I don't know. I'm not the genius going to be solving that solution, but these are just interesting things to think about, is Dude, on a smaller level.
You got to watch Joan is Awful before our next podcast episode. And then at the end of the next episode, we can talk about it. You got to watch it.
All right. I will do, man. Is there any final thoughts?
Oh, that was a lot. Let me see if we missed anything on topics. Let's see.
So far, it's been a pretty solid podcast, man. And again, we're working on uploading. It's just me and Chris, like, doing our uploads here, building the website. Like, we're putting all these podcasts out on all the audio apps out there. So again, it is taking some time. So bear with us. We'll try not to soon too much, but we are giving you updates on the progress. I think there's like 10, 11 episodes already uploaded, and we're going to do all the uploads until we're finally caught up to our current one. And we'll be good on that. And then, of course, updating the website. We are moving quicker, I think, than some NFT projects in the space that we know about. But other than that, yeah, like the video if you like the video.
Ayo. Yeah, I had somebody on Twitter ask if they could find us on any other platforms. I thought that was kind of cool because they found my right now our last episode is pinned on my, not just highlighted, but pinned on my profile. And I guess they saw that.
Yeah, I need to get involved with that more often and figure that out a little bit more. But I do like that feature, and I'm excited for Twitter, which you should subscribe to us over on Twitter, which I think they're going to call followers and subscribers viewers now, or something like that. So that's kind of a cool thing. I like that, like, because viewer sounds less demeaning. I feel like follower, and I don't know. I don't like that. So I do like the terminology change in terms of that. Like, for a viewer, if you want to be a viewer, you can go over to our Twitter accounts at Kyle Willson over on Twitter, and Chris, what's your handle nowadays?
It's still Chris Coffee ETH. I'm thinking about changing it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of E's. So I'm thinking about changing it. Like coffee and ETH together is like E. I don't really like that.
Chris Coffee ETH. I don't know. Yeah. It's not too bad. But I simplified mine because I feel like, just my name is just like pretty easy to find. That's the only reason. But it is cool because you can go x.com/Kyle Willson or /ChrisCoffee.eth. And it pulls us right up. It's much shorter than typing in Twitter.
I will say,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was making a Twitter list today of like accounts that like are highly engaged that are NFT influential, and some people I had to skip over because their handles were too difficult. Like because I made a list of 250 accounts of some of the top most influential accounts, and like if they had like an A, a random O, I don't know, like they had a really hard to type username and it wasn't popping up. It's like, screw it, I'm going on the next one. So.
Exactly. See, you got to think that through. But that's all we got for this one. We drop golden nuggets everywhere, and we hope that this is an exciting episode for you. Share it out with a friend. You never know. Somebody might want to listen to this podcast. Maybe we helped you. Maybe we gave you some insight. Maybe we made you just think, and maybe you could help us share this podcast out because it really does help. And we're trying to break through the algorithm. So whatever you're listening to this on, save it, like it, share it. We'd appreciate it if you enjoyed the content. With that being said, that's all we got for this one. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Be like a collectible, be like an NFT, be authentic, and we'll catch you guys later on your episode or your channel next time on YouTube. So we'll be over there on the next one. Peace.